The grisly attacks on Israeli soldiers and civilians was carried out by Hamas. But what exactly is Hamas? Who are they? And what do they want? Nathan Brown has written extensively about Arab politics, Palestinian society, and governance. He's a professor at George Washington University. Thank you for joining us. And let's start with a basic question. What is Hamas?
Well, Hamas is an acronym, and it stands for Movement of Islamic Resistance. So essentially, it began in the 1980s by a group of Palestinians, religious Palestinians, who said, we've got a lot of resistance movements going on. They're all from the leftist and nationalist camps. We need an Islamic resistance movement. So the resistance is obviously to Israel, the occupation, Zionism, and so on. But the movement part is important as well. Hamas sees itself as a broad-based movement. It's not just about running orphanages or even about military operations or politics or anything like this. It's supposed to be this comprehensive movement. And when you're joining Hamas, the idea is you're joining something bigger than yourself. You're joining a comprehensive project to liberate and reform Palestinian society.
What is Hamas's ultimate goal, and has their thinking evolved over time?
Well, when the movement arose in the 1980s, they said very clearly, our goal is to liberate Palestine. That means all of Palestine, including all of the state of Israel. That was the movement in its early guise, and for many in the movement, that is still the goal. It's inched forward towards hinting at different kinds of solutions, saying, well, we would accept a Palestinian state on the 1967 lines, without saying that they'd actually accept Israel on the other side of that line. They've said things like, well, that's Hamas's position as a movement, but we would accept any legitimate Palestinian national decision, without saying how they would get there. So there are some within the movement who would probably prefer to explore some diplomatic options, but the movement itself still hasn't changed its fundamental position.
How much support exists for that movement in Gaza and in the West Bank?
Well, the interesting thing is that Palestinians are rich in public opinion polls, and a lot of those polls show that Hamas is more popular in the West Bank than in Gaza, where it rules. And Fatah, its rivals, is the exact opposite. Across the political spectrum, though, what I would say is most Palestinians, even those who detest Hamas, would say it's a legitimate part of Palestinian society. This is part of our body politics. This is part of our social fabric. So even though we don't like them, even though they're extremist and they're too religious and they're too violent and so on, we still recognize them as legitimate Palestinian actors.
Let's zoom out a bit and talk about Iran. Iran has for decades been Hamas's chief benefactor. Tell us more about the nature of the relationship between Iran and Hamas.
Iran gives some material support to Hamas. What I would say is Hamas, although it's aligned with Iran and aligned with Hezbollah, really sees itself as about the liberation of Palestine. It's a Palestinian movement. So I think it's closely associated with Iran. It's sometimes dependent diplomatically and financially on Iran, but it's not a direct Iran proxy. It's got its own command structure, its own priorities, its own vision.
You have met with members of Hamas's political wing, as I understand it, that's separate from the military wing. What are they like?
Well, it's sort of interesting. I mean, Hamas's international reputation is as a terrorist organization. That's how the United States government labels it. And certainly Hamas has undertaken actions that target civilians. So it certainly qualifies as having committed many acts of terrorism. But when you run into people in the political wing, they're sort of, as I say, members of this movement. And so they really present themselves as sort of quiet, polite, disciplined, very, very forceful, very righteous, very sound in their personal behavior.
What's the connection between them and the military wing, which carried out the heinous atrocities this past weekend?
Well, there's a single command structure, and where these various wings get together, Palestinians, Hamas members in the West Bank and in Gaza and Israeli prisons and so on. And so the military wing is, I wouldn't say it's independent of the movement, it's an integral part of the movement, but it tends to attract different kinds of people, and it also is not visible above ground, especially in the West Bank. So you don't meet these people.
Nathan Brown, based on your vast experience and deep understanding, why do you think Hamas carried out the attack this past weekend?
Well, I'm going to be honest. It surprised me. It surprised lots of people. I think it probably even surprised people within the movement. It wasn't a shock that Hamas was very, very unhappy with the situation in Gaza, and also it's been bottled up essentially in Gaza for since it took control of the territory in 2007, unable to sketch any path to get out of it. But my hunch is that what Hamas is aiming at is its primary audience is Palestinian public opinion. Now, I was over in the West Bank this past summer, and I found just a mood of absolute despair, disengagement, and younger Palestinians, and especially that I would talk to, would just say, look, somebody's got to do something. Any act of resistance is good. So Hamas probably saw this as an opportunity to show that it could do what no other Palestinian movement has been able to do in a long, long time, and that is really confront and threaten Israel militarily. So it was an opportunistic move. And again, the entire movement may not have been on board fully with what was going on until after it started.
Israel has vowed to destroy Hamas. Can Hamas, in your view, be destroyed?
Hamas was born under Israeli occupation when Israel was occupying Gaza. So I think the movement will be decimated by what Israel will do. But it's been prepared to go underground. It's got bases in the West Bank. It's got bases in the Palestinian diaspora. So the movement will definitely come out of this very, very different than it went in, but I don't think it will disappear.
Nathan Brown is a professor at George Washington University. Thank you for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you for having me.